Hey gang, just sending you out a video to walk you through a couple of pointers in the training database in your new standards-based gradebook, the one that wasn't set up for you when you were in with Miss Wilson a couple of weeks ago. First off, I'm going to send you a link in the email. Make sure you click on the link, and when you go in, it's going to look a lot like your normal Skyward login, but it says Student Training Database. Make sure it says that. It's not as though you can't undo things in the regular gradebook, but this is just a safer place that if you royally screw something up, it's not going to take 16 steps to undo. Okay, you'll use your normal login for the Skyward training database that you use with regular Skyward, and when you log in, you'll be able to go to, I've already logged in as actually Miss Boyce. You'll notice that everything's in red or pink, salmon, whatever you want to call it. That's just to inform you that you're in the training database. You'll see now that your gradebooks are called Standards Gradebook. They used to just be called Gradebook, if you ever noticed the difference. And you'll see that if you click on prior year's classes, view Gradebook, you can go all the way back to 2004. Now it's going to say Standards Gradebook. I'm going to go into one, show you a couple of quick things and interpret a couple of things for you, but really just getting in there and playing around with things is the best way to learn it. Now, the biggest difference in the Standards Gradebook is that instead of categories, you're going to see skills. These skills are right here in the diagonal lined shaded sections. You guys have 5 skills right now. If I click on display options and choose a grade period display, I really only want to take a look at quarter 1 for now. You'll see that you have, the subject is called AP Literature and Composition. That's just your course name. And this skill is formative, this skill is summative, this skill is work, participation, and behavior. Formative is set up to be 20%. Summative is set up to be 80%, and the last 3 are set up to be 0%. If that is different, if you want that set up to be different weights or percentages of your final grades, I don't know what your department had, shoot me an email and we need to get that set up before the school year starts. We'll get it changed. It's not that big of a deal. We just need to make sure we change it before the school year gets going. The other difference you'll see is that you won't have an assignment tab up top here. Instead of assignments in a standards gradebook, they're called events. And you'll add an event, and you can treat it exactly like how you put in assignments before. It's just called an event. The subject, you only have the one choice, but the skill, you can put it in just like you had the category drop-down menu here. And you can call it whatever you want. I'll call it the Little Red Pony exam. Fine literary work. Make sure you still choose a date within the school year. If you're doing this over the summer, it won't let it log in because of the calendar that's on the back side of Skyward. You can weight it just like you normally did. You can even use points if you want to. If you click on points, you'll need to put in what the maximum number of points are. But one of the pluses to the Skyward standards-based gradebook is that if you keep this unchecked and not use points and you use a grade mark, then when you go to put grades in, you can put them in simply as the letter grade. Now you'll see it converts the letter grade into an actual percentage. And I'll try and put all of them in there so you see what the percentages are. Because eventually the gradebook still averages overall percents to come up with their final grade. It's just now you don't have to do that when you're grading. A shortcut that I like to show people while we're in here is this mass assign. You may already know what it is, but if you had an assignment where for the most part all your kids got an A or a B, whatever, you can mass assign that grade by overwriting, and it'll give everybody a B. Now obviously not everybody's going to have the same grade every single time. I only did this when I was in the classroom still. If for the most part everybody got a 3 out of 4. And then I would go back and change the ones that didn't get the 3 or 4. And it was easier to go back and just put in 5 grades rather than 25 grades. You'll see here when you show the grade marks that when you plug a D in, it's going to be a 65. All right, so that's putting in an event. One of the things I like to do when I was still in the classroom is be able to print a class roster with just some blank columns. In some cases, I would already have I'm going to make up a couple of more assignments. I'm going to put one under, excuse me, I'm going to put one under summative. So I've put an event under a couple of different skill categories here. If you hit export, it's going to put your exact gradebook in an Excel document. Now what I like about this is that I can manipulate this and I can come through now. Here's the actual event. 2 more events here. Event, event. And I can get rid of these asterisks so that when I am walking around or grading papers and I want to keep track of the grades in the actual grade book, now I have a spot where I can actually do that. I'll print this sheet. And I'll probably print this in landscape when I do it. Fit sheet to 1 page. I have something I can take around on a clipboard if I'm just jotting things down. I can alter the width of some of these if I wanted to. I'm not going to right now, but you get the point. That's a nice function to have the ability to work with. Now, let's say the end of the quarter is rolling around. And you'll notice that a grade showed up here in the formative skill, but not here in the summative skill. So this is the average of these 3 grades. Now remember the weight multiplier, each of these were 1, so each of these particular grades weighed the same amount. This grade will be 20% of their final grade. Now it all looks the same because there's only 1 grade in there. But if I were to have 3 grades in here, I would get a summative grade, and that summative grade would be 80% of this final grade. Now you'll notice I don't have a summative grade in there. When I put a grade in over here, I'll mass assign an A real quick. This is now making up 80% of the grade, and this B is making up 20% of the grade. Now let's say this was my first grade, and then I put in these 2 grades. If I wanted to change the order of that, or even the size of it, you've got a few options here. Sometimes I just like the description and the date. It'll give me the term, the subject, and the skill if I use this one. I like that one. But under display options, some people prefer the ascending, the oldest to the newest. It's up to you. This is the first one, just like those of you that ever used an old red gradebook. If you got any other questions or want some help with some shortcuts, feel free to give me a shout, 6562.